Open up the grave. Ownboard is back.
Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be discussing the Ownboard W2 Pro, and in addition to me giving you my normal review, I will also be sharing why I think Ownboard has risen from the grave. Without further ado, let's get into it. This deck is composed of bamboo and fiberglass, and because of that, it has a very decent amount of flex, which I felt really helped with eating up cracks and vibrations. And then you pair that with the cloud wheels, which we'll discuss a little bit more in the video, and it made for a very comfortable ride when riding around the town. Now when you look at the deck, it's not going to have a very severe concave at all. It has a very mellow concave, but I feel like with the grip tape and then the flex of the deck, it does allow you to kind of get your feet positioned in a manner in which you feel stable on the board. Now, one of the cool things that Ownboard is allowing people to do, which a lot of other board companies have gotten away from this, which I think is pretty cool that Ownboard is still doing it, is that when you order this board, you get to decide if you want to order your board with a handle or if you do not want the handle. Now, some people dislike the handles, and I think that train of thought comes from the fact that some people feel that it messes with the integrity of the deck, but then you have others who just love it because from a portability standpoint, having a handle on your deck, it makes it so easy to be able to walk around and carry your board literally effortlessly. So I like that Ownboard is offering individuals that. Now, when you look at the bottom of this deck, there's not a whole lot of design that goes on underneath the board. It's just really a solid color of the deck, and I don't really have a major problem with that. Sometimes simplicity, it works in one's favor. So overall, I think that the deck is solid, and I think that people who are riding this board are going to like that it eats up those cracks and those vibrations. Now that's going to take us into the battery setup, which is one of my favorite elements of this particular board. This board is utilizing a 12S 2P configuration, utilizing 40T cells. This is a solid situation because these cells, they have very little battery sag, but then they give you a lot of punch and capacity when riding around on your particular board. And I was able to notice that. I did not get a chance to do a range test because this is an initial impressions video, but what I'm able to tell you is that I'm riding this board around, I'm getting a lot of miles, I'm riding at high speeds and top speeds, and this battery is really hanging in there. I mean, when you look down at the remote, the battery it doesn't go down a lot, really. Like, you really have to exert the board a lot and ride for long distances before you start to see the battery actually go down. One of the other things I like is that the board is able to maintain like its top speed for long periods of time. Sometimes boards can get to a top speed, but they can't stay there. This particular board can do that, and I attribute a lot of that to the battery setup, which to me is very, very solid. And I think they're giving you one of the better battery situations for a board that is in its price point. So very solid there. Good job Ownboard. Now let's talk about this ESC and remote. They're utilizing the Hobbywing ESC, which is very solid. A lot of people love the Hobbywing ESC because it's predictable and it's intuitive, and you don't get jerked around when riding the board. When you accelerate, it's predictable. When you brake, it's predictable. Another very solid area there. This board is also shipping with the new Hobbywing remote, and I love this remote. It has a very large indicator screen on there that gives you a plethora of information. Board battery, how fast you're traveling, remote battery, how many miles or kilometers you've driven in this particular ride. Very solid situation there. I think when people buy this board, you're going to like the ESC. You're going to like how things respond. Very solid situation there. Now let's talk about these motors. They're utilizing 5255 brushless motors, 160 kV, 750 watts. And Ownboard is advertising that the board can do anywhere from 26 to 28 miles per hour. And I was able to get the board anywhere from 26 to 27 miles an hour. And in my book, that is solid to me right there. This board has very good torque, very good acceleration. One of the things I just have to point out that Ownboard did an amazing job on is that oftentimes when people put cloud wheels on their boards, the boards are not tuned for cloud wheels. And what I mean by that is I feel like boards lose a lot of torque and they lose some acceleration when people just put cloud wheels on a board that isn't tuned for that. Ownboard seems like they've tuned this board perfectly to ride with these cloud wheels. And what I mean by that is this board has great acceleration and it has great torque. Sometimes things that are actually compromised when people put cloud wheels on their boards. They did an excellent job with this because this board accelerates up hills. I had a couple of buddies of mine when we were riding, we were going up hills and I was passing them going up the hill, and I actually weighed more than some of them. So that was very surprising to me. And overall, I'm pretty impressed with the acceleration and the torque that we see on this board. I think people that purchase this board are going to appreciate how Ownboard tuned this particular board. Now let's talk about the wheels. This board is actually shipping with cloud wheels. Some people are going to love that. Some people are going to dislike it. If you follow the channel, you know that I recently completed a video on the cloud wheel donuts, and I also did a full-fledged review of just the plain cloud wheels. I am a fan of the cloud wheels. They eat up a lot of cracks and vibrations, and like I talked about in my other videos, they increase your safety margin. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you're riding, there are imperfections in the road that you may not see, and you may not have enough time to avoid them. With the cloud wheels, you can run over just about anything, barring like a gigantic hole in the ground or something like that. I also love the cloud wheels for my son because it allows him to ride, and I feel more comfortable when he's riding a wheel like that because I know that he can just roll over things. So I like that Ownboard is shipping this board with the cloud wheels. One of the other things that this had me thinking about was that if I was to put a regular street wheel on this board is probably going to have ridiculous torque and acceleration because it's already very torquey and has good acceleration. But to put some regular street wheels on here, this thing is going to be a torque monster. So overall, I like this wheel setup. When you pair these wheels with this flex of this deck, it makes for a very, very comfortable ride. And I have no major complaints when you talk about these wheels. The trucks. This board is utilizing, it looks like, some generic brand trucks, and I don't have any major complaints with them. Now, some people prefer, name brand trucks. Some people want trucks that are have different type of manufacturer capacities, but these trucks are getting the job done. All I did was tighten up the bushings, and I've just been enjoying this board. I've actually been enjoying it a lot, and I've let a lot of people ride the board, and everyone that I've let ride the board has been very impressed with it. It carves well, it rides well at high speeds. I don't have any major complaints with these trucks. My nitpicks. Now, I praise this board and I really enjoy this board. It brings a lot to the table. Good acceleration, torque, cloud wheels, all of these things that just make for a great ride. But you guys know I like to share things that I think could be improved on boards or things that I think that you should be aware of. One of the things that I think riders should be aware of when considering this board is the flex of this deck. I like this flex of this deck. However, I think that riders that are on the heavier side, this may not be the deck situation for you. If you're somebody that's maybe 250 or way more than that, this deck might be a little bit too flexible for you. But for people that are under maybe 240, 250, I think that this deck is pretty solid. Now, some people are going to look at the bottom of the deck and say, oh, why is it just so plain and black? Really, I don't have any major complaints with that because I'd rather it just have a minimalist look than somebody to put something ugly or ugly design on there that I just don't like. And also, with it looking like that, it just gives me an excuse to just sticker bomb the bottom. So that's what I'm probably going to do because I've never done that on any of my other boards because I just like to look at the design of them. But on this board, I might throw a bunch of stickers on it just to give it a little life. And that's going to take me into my final thoughts and why I think this board has revived Ownboard from the dead. Now, this particular offering, in my opinion, has the ability to put Ownboard when you talk about a street board and probably the top 4 boards that are out there on this market when you talk about a board that has this form factor and that is in this price point. And that's because of the battery cells that they're using. You're getting cloud wheels. The acceleration and torque is very impressive. The range appears to be very impressive. I like the ESC that they're using. So it is a very, very solid situation. And to be honest about it, Ownboard has been kind of quiet, I would say, over the last maybe 6 months to a year. So this particular offering, I think, is going to generate some excitement for the brand and the company, because I think that this is a really good board and that people that buy this board are going to be incredibly happy with their purchase. I really enjoy this board. Like I mentioned before, I like the acceleration and the torque. I like that it's coming with the cloud wheels. I like the flex of this deck. I like the price point that this particular board is in. If you want to learn more about this board, please check out the description. I have a link in a discount code that not only gets you a discount, but it supports the channel. As always, remember, PEVs allow you to be everywhere, and I'll see you at the top because the bottom is too crowded. Peace.